Well, I reckon we got us an inside peanut butter, outside jelly situation.
Fuck.
A 7 days of the week, 7 different Chevys situation. Well, howdy, partners.
Howdy.
You're listening to the Forever Pod, America's most patriotic podcast. I'm the Dark Caballero, Matisse Van Rossum.
I'm the horse whisperer, but not the shitty Twitter one, Ben Sheets.
Ooh.
I'm a ghost rider of the Rohirrim, Cleveland Mosier.
Well, we're recording this on the start of a 4th of July weekend.
Yes, sir, roll tide.
And every time a 4th of July rolls around, Independence Day rolls around, it's time for another Purge movie.
Can I say it again? Roll tide.
Roll Tide! Can I get a Roll Tide?
Tide, brother. Roll tide.
Roll Tide, brothers. And, yeah. So tonight, we're going to be talking about the brand new latest installment in the Purge franchise, The Forever Purge, directed by Everardo Gout and written by Purge creator James DeMonaco. This is the second of the Purge movies that James DeMonaco has not directed, but he has written all of them. This sure was a Purge movie.
Yep, like, even though he's not directing them, they are still very much James DeMonaco movies.
This is, if there's one thing that I'll say about the Forever Purge, is that it sure is a Purge movie.
Yeah.
But, Cleveland, this was your first Purge movie. You have not seen the other four.
Not a single one. And you know, like, I'm baby on the podcast a lot, and that's fine. But like, in this circumstance, I don't think I've ever been happier to be baby on the podcast. You know, here's the thing. I am a huge fan of going back to the source material. That's my jam. If there's a book, I'm going to read it before the movie comes out if I can. In this instance, it was the opposite. I actually got a lot of joy out of going into this one and being the variable, like, amongst us who, like, I've never seen a single Purge movie. I've never been interested in a single Purge movie. But the trailer for this one really had me going. The other ones, honestly, it bores me. I don't think the premise is like that much to write home about. It doesn't really intrigue me very much. Anyone can put on a mask and go out during this time. You could maybe have some fun stories worked in there, but it's not really a good opportunity for, like, a horror villain. Like a Mike Myers or whoever,
not a singular villain.
Yeah,
not a singular villain.
And if I'm gonna watch like a slasher
really
or whatever,
about.
like, that's more my speed. Yeah, and it's a preferential thing. It's nothing against the films, but this one had such flavor to it off the trailer. Like, as soon as the guy says, "A new Purge, the Forever Purge," I was fucking sold. I love cowboy shit. I grew up watching John Wayne movies, and, you know, like, I've come back around. There's a long time where, like, I went without watching John Wayne movies or whatever because it's problematic, you know, and all that stuff. But, like, I really come back around on it, you know, as I've gotten older and stopped clutching my pearls a little bit, and recognize that, like, you know, it's an art from artist thing, and I still, like, can enjoy those movies and acknowledge, like, the bad. Point is, I wear cowboy boots everywhere. I fucking love cowboy shit.
I'm wearing a cowboy hat right now.
Tease is wearing a cowboy hat right now. And we
I
were
bought
saying,
it at the gas station on the way home from this movie.
hell yes, inspired by the very film. Now, what I was saying is we just need to get Ben, like, a duster or some assless chaps or something.
Like a big Texas
big
belt buckle.
Oh, yeah,
A
big
Texas
belt buckle.
You wear good.
Yeah,
you wear well.
yeah.
Like, yeah, we'll get you a big belt buckle, and then between the three of us, we'll be a whole
We'll
cowboy.
make one single cowboy.
Yeah, because I don't wear a hat. I don't wear a hat. But you now have a hat.
I now have a hat.
So if Ben has a
Yeah.
belt, we're a whole cowboy.
Well,
Yeah.
you talked about the Western aspect of this movie, and we'll get more into this as we go. But I think one of my larger criticisms of this movie in general is that it doesn't lean into the Western stuff hard enough.
I agree. And
I think it has the veneer of a Western, but it doesn't have the hallmarks of Western films that I would want from something like this. A lot of people wearing cowboy hats, but it was missing like a high noon shootout or something. Like, I think they're really missing.
It was missing that real cowboy shit.
Yes,
This movie could never be as cool as its poster.
agreed.
Not
Yeah.
happening. Like,
And I
that
would say
poster is
I would
so
say that
fucking
kind of
good.
holds true about most of the Purge movies in
Yeah.
general. The marketing material is almost always better than the movie itself. I would
Yeah.
say that the first Purge, and by that I mean the fourth Purge movie entitled The First Purge, is maybe the one that is as good as its promotional material.
It's entitled.
Well, every Purge movie is set in a different American city. This
Mostly,
one,
yeah.
this one is set in El Paso and Texas in general, where I was wanting more of almost spaghetti western homage and western influence. It feels like normal generic Purge movie that happens to be in Texas.
Yep, agreed.
Which
and they
was a bit of a bummer.
And they slap cowboy hats on all the characters.
And of course,
Like,
it's used as a vessel to talk about illegal immigration and illegal immigrants, that kind of struggle. But it doesn't get as biting as earlier movies in the series have. Like, the first Purge gets really direct in its ideas of
using the
pop
purge
culture
and using the purge as a means to cull the poor. Which is one of the things that I thought was really good in terms of commentary about the first Purge. Once again, the film titled The First Purge, not the first Purge film.
Yeah, Dan, that's mad confusing.
Dude, it sucks, man. When Ben and I talked about the first Purge, we kept having to reiterate that. That's what I thought was good about that one, is that it really gets into this idea of, like, that the poor are the ones who suffer in the Purge. Like, that's always been sort of like the overarching themes, is like the rich can afford to ride out the Purge in safety and comfort, while the poor people are culled. But we really see them dig more into that in the first Purge. And this one is like the Purge universe's take on, like, MAGA culture.
Yeah.
But in sort of like the shallowest sense.
Yeah, it feels almost vague. They don't go into it very deeply, besides they want to purify the country.
Purify
they
America,
dig
yeah.
into the white supremacy stuff, and that's about it.
Well, they don't really dig into it. It just kind of is like the people who are forever purging just want to kill all black and brown people. Like, they don't really dig into it any more than that. There's a little bit of, like, exploration between, like, the two main characters, because, like, the big crux of this movie is, what if a rich white family and a poor Mexican immigrant family have to come together to survive the Forever Purge, right? They sort of, like, make little bits of commentary here and there, but it feels like they're afraid to actually say anything.
Really?
Other than white supremacy bad, which is obvious.
Well, okay, yeah, so, like, okay, that's fair. I guess.
I also just don't think James DeMonaco is smart enough to really...
See, like, that's what I mean.
That's the thing.
I wouldn't expect or really want this movie to get, like, too deep into the nitty-gritty of like, those details, because of the kind of film that it is. It's like a wacky action film. It's a fucking theme park ride. Like, you're constantly, like, in a car moving from one place to the next, shaky camera, being shot at. There's always, like, movement and tension.
In that sense, it is very much a Purge movie. All the Purge movies are like that.
That rules. And I love roller coaster ride films. And in that kind of film, I'm not expecting it to ever, like, need to slow down or to get into the weeds about it. I can do that on my own time, and that's okay. One of the reasons I felt the need to speak, too, was that I found the commentary to be extremely heavy-handed. It is all over.
I mean,
this film.
you don't
That needs to be
expect
said.
subtlety in a Purge
No.
movie, but this one may have been the dumbest one too.
Yes,
out of all
I would
of them.
I would agree. We should say off the bat, Ben and I were talking about this a little bit before, like, I don't think that this is by any means the worst of the franchise, but it is the dumbest. It's the stupidest, I think.
Yeah.
That might be a pro. I wouldn't know.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. None of these films are particularly smart. And I don't think that's really what I want from the Purge movies. But this one is sort of continuing the trend of the first Purge in terms of getting, like, explicitly political, and in doing so, it doesn't have a whole lot to say. It's just really shallow commentary done extremely heavy-handedly and kind of muddled too. Like, there are a couple of times in the movie where, like, I had to sort of stop and ask myself, like, what is this film's politics? Like, I think I know what they're trying to say, but there are a couple of times where it's like, I don't think they really know what their own politics is.
I kind of like that about it. Like, America's really confused right now. People are always confused. The film, I thought, kind of captured that in a fun way. I would much rather have it make the bad guys look cool and have the heroes also say neat things or whatever, and have it be a little unclear what the film's message is, than have it just be, like, lean in and feel like total like propaganda or whatever for like one perspective. I'll be real, like, when the Cowboys, like, first storm the ranch, most of their rhetoric is, like, classist, and I was like, these guys seem kind of cool, like...
That's what I'm talking about, though, because they are presented, those particular characters are presented as explicitly villainous. But the things that they're saying, I think, speak to a lot of the class frustrations happening in America right now, and I found myself having a hard time disliking them when the movie is telling me these are the bad guys.
See, it's telling you they're the bad guys, but it's also telling you they're cool.
They're dressed cool.
They're dressed really
they're
cool,
dressed
dude.
cool.
They're the coolest, like, thing about the movie, frankly. Like, they're definitely why I wanted to see this film, and I wish there was more of them. I kind of hate how quickly they get killed off.
They should have been the villains throughout the whole thing.
Yes.
And this is something else that Ben and I were chatting about briefly before, too, is that, like, I know this is your only exposure to the Purge, Cleveland, but I think that in terms of, like, the villains and the set pieces, this is one of the least creative ones so far.
Yeah.
It's narratively a little bit tighter than something like Election Year, which is the worst one, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But in terms of set pieces, that film is way wackier and more creative. There's more cool masks and costumes. And this one does that a little bit at the beginning, but once it gets into like the true quote-unquote forever purge stuff where the official purge is over, then it just sort of becomes like far-right militia aesthetic.
Dude, right, like, who thought it was a good idea to like get rid of the cowboy villain early on and replace it with a normal army dude?
And turn into the Proud Boys.
Yeah, and like the Proud Boy stuff is fine. Put that at the beginning. Also, let me ask you guys. I guess we're just going to bounce all over the place. Because the movie sure did. Did they not kill the Black Hat? Think about it, right? Like, he's got the family up, right? And then, like, the two guys come in and, like, they shoot them all. And then our protagonist is over the top of the villain, the Black Hat. And he punches them a few times and he says something to them. And then they say, they're the other guys. We need to leave. And they don't shoot him. They just kind of, like, we don't see him die.
I honestly can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Like, I was really tracking it because I was like, I hope he's not dead yet. I want more of him. I want more of all of this.
Come back,
Yeah, like, this guy's chewing up the scenery. I love...
Instead, they introduce, like, another villain, like, 30 minutes before the end of the movie.
Yeah, that was weird.
There's a long span of the film where there isn't, like, a core villain.
Yeah, who they just, like, meet in an alley, and, like, they kill his girlfriend, and then he, like, spends the rest of the movie, like, hunting them down. Like, that feels like something that should have been introduced way sooner if they were going to do that.
I feel like, very possibly... something was cut out of this movie, and it was replaced with some of those shaky shots around that time too. Because you remember, like, some of the sequences where they get, like, the sequence where they get split up, I could not tell what split them up. It was so shaky and stroby and flashing.
No, why did they split?
I have no idea.
That's a great question.
Because
I didn't even think
swear to
about
God, it's because a scene was cut out.
I can see that.
I feel like, something was taken out of the movie. Maybe because, like, it didn't do well in, like, focus testing or, you know, whatever. It was, like, maybe, like, hit the nail too much on the head. I don't know.
Here's my theory on that. I think you might be right that there might have been some reshoots or some recutting, because I'm assuming that this film was supposed to come out this time last year and then didn't.
I'm pretty sure that's true.
Because they love to drop Purge movies in election years. The end of the Trump presidency, although at the time they wouldn't have known that it was the end of the Trump presidency. He could have been reelected. But, like, this movie feels like it was made for last year, and then what I think they might have done is they might have recut or reshot some of it after the quote-unquote insurrection on January 6th. Because the whole idea of the Forever Purge, of what we see in the Forever Purge, I couldn't stop thinking about how this is what both sides of the aisle want to imagine that January 6th was. Yeah. The right wing, the right wing wanted to imagine themselves as, like, cool badasses, like storming the Capitol and, like, and doing their own thing and like, you know, taking on a corrupt government and taking the law into their own hands. That's how they wanted to imagine themselves. themselves, and liberals want to imagine it as like crazy people like taking over, you know,
No one is safe.
attempting an insurrection.
It's
no
the
one is
forever
safe.
Trump.
Yeah.
And but then what in reality is just like they broke into the Capitol, then wandered around for a while and sat at Nancy Pelosi's desk, you know, like so.
Some guy got arrested who's like making, you know, like requesting to not have like or to like vegan food in prison and all
Right,
that stuff.
so like this feels
what's that guy's what
the QAnon shaman.
the QAnon shaman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good name too.
But like, yeah, this the whole time I was like, man, the Forever Purge is like if January 6th had been actually like a real insurrection.
I wonder how much they recut it, because that's a really good point. But also, like, there's a line earlier in the beginning of the movie where it's like a news interview with the Native American dude, and he's like
with Hansi from Fargo.
Yeah.
He's like, the purge is like a virus, it just keeps spreading, and I'm like, ooh, they shot this before
Right,
the pandemic, huh?
See, I think that some of that stuff might have been reworked in after for extra commentary, because there's that bit where they talk about lockdown also, and like, I don't know, the way that they
I mean, they talk about lockdown in every movie.
Yeah, that's the whole
Purge.
thing. The whole deal with the Purge is locking down until it's over. Honestly, this feels like such a weird time to release this movie, because like post-Trump, it feels like a weird time to like put out a movie on MAGA culture, and just like considering the whole Capitol riot thing that happened earlier this year, and then basically having a movie that just is that on a grander scale.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what the fuck they're trying to say here, but in terms of like a Purge movie, it was pretty by the numbers.
Yeah.
Like, aesthetic aside, I'm really curious now, Cleveland, for you to see more Purge movies, because like, I think if you see a couple of the other ones, then you'll maybe be a little less hot on this one. We'll see some that have some really kooky, creative shit.
Yeah, I would definitely like to see more of that in this film. The opener is so much fun for it. But, you know, honestly, we got about as much as we did in the trailer, like of the cool cowboy stuff. And we never got that shot that's on the poster of the fucking skull cowboy.
We see him once, like on the street when our immigrant characters are like on the bus going to like the warehouse lockdown. Like they pass him, and like, yeah, we see like one shot. He's just like leaning against a wall. But yeah, he would have been a very cool villain. But you know, that's kind of par for the course with the Purge movies, where they like have a sort of ancillary villain that has a cool outfit that becomes like the whole marketing of the film, and then he's not actually a big part of the movie.
Yeah. You know, I was really wishing there was a twist in this movie. We were talking about this after the movie, but most of these movies have sort of a galaxy brain twist to them.
Yeah.
Which kind of takes generic premises like these and makes them more interesting. I was expecting one from this because, you know, they talk about, like, there was organization with the Forever Purgers.
Right.
And then they just don't do anything with that, really.
Yeah, I feel
like they're setting up for another film. Or
I think they are. Well,
is the TV series?
The Purge 6 has already been confirmed. I haven't seen the TV series. It is a thing. I can't comment on it. What I did think was kind of interesting is at the end of election year, they kill off the new founding fathers and like make it possible for like a more quote-unquote progressive candidate to step in and like abolish the Purge. And at the very beginning of this movie, they're just like, yeah, after that, the new founding fathers party just won again immediately, and and the first thing they did was reinstate the Purge. And at first, I was kind of like miffed by that, where I was like, that's lazy. But then I thought about like the way things actually work in this country, and I was like, oh yeah. It is just like the pendulum is just constantly swinging from like center left to right, isn't it? Like a liberal candidate will come in, be president for 4 years, do nothing, and then the far right party comes back with a vengeance.
Well, yeah, and election year came out in 2016, right?
Exactly.
During the Hillary Trump
Yes.
stuff. So I think part of that was a comment on, kind of the alternative to the new founding fathers was kind of the Hillary stand-in.
Right, exactly. I mean, because that character was, a girl boss liberal president,
Yeah.
liberal candidate. But yeah, it's like, well, the new founding fathers are back in power. The purge is in effect again. Here we are back at the beginning. But this time it's different because people don't stop purging after the night is over. I agree with you, though. Like, it would have been interesting to see some more of, like, how organized that is. Because by the end of the film, we know that, like, the Forever Purge is happening across the country. Like, there's certainly a high degree of organization behind it, enough that they even, like, are united under a single symbol.
Yeah.
This, like, weird skull with surrounded by an Ouroboros.
Which, I mean,
wanted
like,
to see
they
them
totally
do,
got
like,
together on 4chan.
Yeah, I was gonna say I want to see like the rare Pepes and like their QAnon stand-in.
Yeah,
and...
dude, like that would be actually really interesting to see, because this kind of thing, like in real America, would absolutely be organized online. And I think they are just trying to, I think a big crux of this movie is like, what if like QAnon
Was competent?
Like, yeah, what if QAnon was actually like competent, or had the guts to actually like take decisive action. I think that it was a kind of a missed opportunity to not get more into that. Like, exactly, like the fucking Mimi edgelords and stuff, like organizing that, who designed that fucking flag that they're all united under, right?
Veterans of the posting wars.
Yeah, exactly.
I can dig that. It would be fun, yeah, if like the cowboy group had like one techie guy who had a bunch of like Pepe shit.
Well, they had comms, which was weird to me. All the Forever Purgers had like walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
And were talking to home base or whatever. But we never really got to see any of that.
Yeah,
that's true.
I think you're right. I think that that they are setting up for a continuation of this in the next movie. In a lot of ways, like, the first 3 Purge movies feel sort of like a trilogy, and then like the first Purge comes after that and is a prequel to all of it, and then this movie I could kind of see them setting up for like a Forever Purge trilogy, because it's, by the end of it, it certainly feels like they have more to say. Like, it doesn't end cleanly. I don't know how I feel about that, because I think, like, the novelty of the Purge is that it's like, in normal America, one night a year, everyone gets to release their, all of their anger and energy and, like, do crime and murder people. And then when you turn it into as they say, the Forever Purge, where it's not just limited to one night a year, then it's not the Purge anymore. It's just anarchy.
Yeah, and if you're doing a trilogy,
not to be confused with Purge anarchy.
I would want them to have more compelling characters, right?
Yes.
Like, at least the originals had like Frank Grillo.
And in the first one, which is much more of a self-contained slasher one, like, it has, like, Ethan Hawke and, like, Lena Headey and, not a very well-written film, but at least, characters that you can sort of, they're kind of tangible.
Yeah.
And, yeah, then you've got fucking Frank Grillo for the second one, for the second and third one.
Yeah. Which is fun. Like,
Yeah.
he's fun action star kind of guy. And this one, the acting was good. It was serviceable.
Yeah.
But I don't
feel
feel like there were
anybody gave a
any
bad performance.
I like
Yeah,
Adele
I
and
don't-
Juan. Like, I thought they were fun characters.
I don't think they were particularly memorable, though.
Yeah, that's
Really?
my thing. I don't think anybody gave a bad performance per se, but I didn't find myself attached to any of these people.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I really
especially-
liked Adela. Like,
Adela and Juan
Like,
were the most interesting.
them playing up her backstory with like knowing how to like handle a firearm was interesting. What I will say about
really
that, though,
played that off in one
hold on, let me
line,
finish.
though.
I was a little disappointed that they answered that question, because I thought it would have been really ballsy. Because here's the thing, right? We've got Adela who, like, at one point she picks up like an AR-15 or whatever, and like clearly knows like how to utilize it, right? And it's like clearly this person has some sort of like military training or background or whatever. And like some guy like asks her like, "Hey, how'd you learn how to do that or whatever?" And she just walks away. I wish that they had never brought it up again. Because here's the thing,
Well,
right?
yeah, because their answer to it was fucking stupid.
Well, their answer to it was silly, but like...
And underdeveloped.
But also, no one asks the male characters that.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
The guys, they just pick up, like Juan, like her husband, like, he picks up a gun. No one asks him where he learned fucking military training.
Well, yeah, that's true. It's like by the time they're on the run, like everybody is like they're all doing like the crouch walk, like they're all using
They're all
like,
using, like CQB tactics. Like, they all
Yeah.
know what the fuck they're doing. And, like, that's cool.
And I can
you don't
pass-
need
I
to
can pass some
explain
of
that.
that off
They
as,
live
like,
in
yeah.
Texas. Like, that's all.
And also, people
you
watch
need.
movies. Like I've seen enough action movies that I feel like if I was given a real gun, I could imitate how people do it in the movies.
Sure.
You know?
Like, it's fine, but it was weird. Like, they
No,
made
that's
it
a
a
good
big deal
point.
for her.
For her, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, what about the guys? You know, like what's the big fucking deal? It's Texas. Everyone knows how to shoot a fucking gun. Like,
Well, she
I
gets,
think there's missed opportunity there as well. You know, like just to play that off in one line is underwhelming. She should have
That's
like
the thing,
met
yeah.
up with one of her former colleagues or something.
They did,
or-
but they don't really get a moment together.
yeah, exactly.
Because they do, like they do find the rose. And what I'll say about like it ending, I actually thought that this
Well,
movie
that's
ended in a
not-
nicely like cyclical way in that respect, because they return back to the rose.
Yeah. Well, that's not her colleague. That's from the beginning when they got them over the border for the first time.
Right.
They give her
Yeah.
the rose. That's not her colleagues that were fighting the cartel.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like she gets asked later about like how she knows how to handle a gun, and she has a single line about how she was part of an all-woman guerrilla unit that fought the cartels in Mexico. There's no elaboration on that. It's just the one line, and I agree with you, like it felt like that needed to come back in some way. It's like, okay, it's an explanation for how she knows how to like use assault weapons, but what?
Well, see, what I was totally expecting was when they got to the bar, you know, that has the red rose in it, and like that she was gonna find like some of her squad mates who just happened.
She should have.
Yeah.
And like,
Because
and then
that's-
they would have been like girl boss, like going down the street, like mowing down like MAGA
That
dudes.
would have been way
and that would have
cooler.
ruled.
That would have been
Yeah.
way cooler.
Like, yeah,
Well,
but
because she says that like that's why she and her husband had to leave Mexico and sneak across the border into America anyway, because they were being hunted by the cartel. It would have made sense for her to meet more of her squad or whatever, who also had been forced to flee to the U.S. to get away from the cartel. And that would have been so cool if they met up in the bar and it's like, oh yeah, we got the squad back together, you know?
that would have been a cool moment.
It would have been an opportunity for some cool action shit, and then it's just like
I will say,
then they find Hansi, and
yeah, but on that though, with Hansi, that's one fun subversion of Westerns that I actually really liked in this movie, because normally Native Americans are evil in the old Westerns against
God, yeah, you were talking about like John Wayne movies and being problematic. That's a big part
That's
of
a nice subversion in this movie, in that they are the heroes just shooting down these rednecks with explosive bow and
exploding
arrows.
Yeah, that is one of the cooler things that they do. But then they only utilize them when the guys are coming in on vehicles and not when they're just like shooting them later. It's like one well-placed explosive arrow would kill that whole group of guys that's
Yeah, I
marched
want to
up.
see a guy blow up.
Yeah,
Come
right.
on, give me what I want.
Speaking of missed opportunity in that same scene, there's a guy who has like a redneck Bane mask, but instead of like filters, it's just like
Shotgun.
12 gauge
Shotgun
like
shells.
shells. Total missed opportunity to blow his face up.
Yeah, well, you
Yes!
got the guy with like the weird jaw full of the bullets, too.
I
yeah.
love
Yeah.
that mask.
Yeah, that was a cool
design,
one.
Yeah.
All the costumes underutilized. They're all given to side characters who get like no screen time. And if they get screen time, it's blurry. No, yeah, I agree. But going back real quick to Adela, like one of the things I really liked is leading up to that scene when she says, where she does give her backstory, they're in the movie theater and some old Dracula film is running in the background and it says, "Beware, his wives are wolves." And then right after they say the bit about like, you know, like her like fighting the cartel. And I did think that was fun. That's a nice little touch.
I would not be surprised if that was completely accidental.
No. It was definitely intentional. It was definitely
I don't know. That
intentional.
seems
I flagged it before like when they said the thing about the wives being wolves, it is paired with her like holding a machine gun, looking badass and moving around. It is definitely by design.
I think you're giving James DeMonaco a lot of credit, but that's okay.
Like I thought it was heavy-handed.
Going back a little bit, there's a point where Adela gets split up with her manager, the black dude.
Oh, yeah, her boss at work.
Yeah, her boss. And they're in like an armored cop vehicle that gets shot down by an RPG.
Yeah.
I want to talk about multiple aspects of that, but first let's talk about
There's a lot to unpack.
Let's talk about the crew in the back of that sheriff.
I mean, that's the most important part.
Yeah,
what's
just the crazed Nazi.
Yeah, if there's somebody in a movie that you have to make very obvious from the first time you see them that they're evil, what's the best way to do that? Slap a swastika onto their face. It's so heavy.
Just a giant white supremacist guy who is just that is him. He is white supremacist man, and that is his entire
embodied
character.
Yeah,
I was just waiting for him to
personified.
say the N-word, honestly. I was surprised that he didn't, considering how evil.
Yeah, also James DeMonaco's Italian, so that's surprising that he didn't want to put the N-word in this movie.
Oh dear.
But man, that part was so fucking stupid where they're like driving through and he's listening to all of the gunshots happening outside and naming what type of gun it is.
Dude,
And
I have known
love
people
that.
like that. I have fucking known people who fucking get off on naming the sounds of gunshots in movies. I loved that. I thought that ruled. The one thing I was really hoping for, I think that would have made that scene even better, is if the car had crashed and like he had popped out and then helped them.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say popped out and said that's an RPG shot, right?
Also funny. But I think that there could have been like a really good opportunity for like a subversion to have this character like with a fucking swastika tattooed on his face.
Can't
to like
do that.
you know
You
like
can't have a good Nazi.
yeah, well no, not a good Nazi, still evil and fucked up, but like with opinions. I don't know, I thought that could have been
I
funny.
mean, the people he would have been helping are a Mexican woman and a black man. That's kind of off-brand for somebody who has a swastika tattooed on their face.
yeah, I don't know, like
It wouldn't have made sense. It would have been a subversion.
no, he
but
could
it
have just said
wouldn't have made sense.
hey, oh this, and pointed to it, and then he could have said like, I was just trying to survive in prison, you know, like, and there you go. Done. Yeah, there's
I think if you're
something
trying
to
to survive in prison, you get the swastika tattoo somewhere where it's maybe less obvious for when you get out of prison.
Yeah, but then it doesn't work as a bit. But like, in reality, yeah, sure. Let's talk about like the different types of characters like portrayed here. One thing I was a little concerned about at the very beginning of the film was that they were going to make all the cowboys bad. I wasn't like super concerned about it because I could really give a shit. Like I'm not so tied to the persona that I would take offense to it. But like
Texas would be offended.
Texas would be offended, and that's fine. Texas gets offended very easily. But
It's not hard to offend Texas.
They say don't mess with Texas, but it's in kind of a whiny voice if you listen closely. Don't mess with Texas.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, come on, Texas. You'll be all right. Anyway, I was saying to myself, I hope that there's at least like one good cowboy character, because at the start, the majority of the cowboy characters all seem to be like racist or whatever, and that's fine. You can have most of your cowboys be racist or whatever, but give me just one tertiary cowboy who isn't a racist. And we get that.
And then they kill him off immediately.
That's okay. That's all right. We got one. That was enough for me.
yeah.
And honestly, better, because then we get an opportunity where the son, who is a little racist, has some
He's
teachable
racist,
moments.
yeah.
You know, I mean, the joke is it's impossible to be, or it's kind of hard to be a little racist.
It's very obvious from the get-go when, like, one of his early lines is, like, his wife is pregnant, and the sister or whatever is telling them, it's like, oh, I can introduce you to our housekeeper's sister. He's like, no, we don't want to talk to her sister, because I don't even know if I want my child growing up speaking Spanish.
See, what I thought
And, like,
is that was going to be a subversion, and he was going to be fucking her.
Oh, see, that would have been interesting.
And so he was playing it up a little bit because really he was getting some on the side, and he was, like trying to not have those two worlds of his collide.
Well, it's very obvious from when that moment happens. Like, okay, we're setting up our main characters here, so he's gonna end up being saved by Adela and Juan or whatever, and he's gonna turn around and realize that maybe Mexicans aren't so bad after all. And sure enough, like, that is what happens.
Yes, it is. Well, see, what I like too is like
they handle it in like such a like stumbling, clumsy way that, like, I don't think he's ever likable.
No, he's not. But that's okay. Like,
but I feel like he's supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I think it's just right. Because, like, you get this character. See, when I say kind of racist, what I mean is, like, he's racist enough to be, like, redeemable, which you don't get very often in movies. You don't get, and I found that really refreshing, and I would like to see that more often, is racist characters who can learn, like, who can come around from their errors, because in real life, that's important. Like, you have to be able to fucking teach people. It's ignorance that's the fucking problem.
Yeah.
And movies are bad about that. Like, they always just have the villain be super racist and a villain so they can kill him off. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But, like, it was nice to get that in this film where, like, we had a character who was, like
people need to be
like, a little racist. He was
Yeah.
racist enough to be, like, made unracist by the end.
Well, see, here's the thing,
learn.
is they make sure to put in a scene midway through where he explains exactly how racist he is, so we know that he's not, like, super racist.
I like that.
So that he is redeemable. I mean,
Because, like, honestly, though,
I
like,
think it
how
was-
often have you heard, like, because I've definitely heard that perspective from, like, people
I don't
growing up in the South.
have a problem with him being redeemed by the end of the film, like, but I do think that insertion was clumsy and that he still is not likable by the end of it.
I'm not disagreeing.
Because what he says is, like, they're driving in their bulletproof semi-truck, and Juan says, like, he's like, I want to cut the shit, like, you don't like Mexican people, like, it's obvious, like, don't lie to me. And he's just like, well, I don't dislike Mexicans. I don't think white people are better than anybody else. I just think you should stick with your own. So he doesn't think, he's not a white supremacist, but he's
a xenophobe.
But he is opposed to racial integration.
Well, he
wants to keep the races separate, or separate but equal, which was what the fucking 60s was all about.
Yeah, no, like,
and it's like, coming out of that, I'm like, okay, so why are we supposed to think that he's any better for that by saying he doesn't think white people are better, but he does think people shouldn't be mixed?
We're not. The response to it, like, is really important, because then Juan says, too fucking bad, we're together now.
Yeah, we are
like,
together.
Juan gets
Yeah.
the upper hand over him. That's the whole point of that conversation. And then, like, by the end of it, they're watching each other's backs and whatever. And no, like, there isn't enough runtime by that point for him to come around and be redeemed. I agree with that. Like, you are right. Like, by the end of the movie, I was not in love with this character. I was never in love with this character.
Yeah.
But I think that's okay. It's not really about his character. It's about Juan.
Well, that's the thing. I think he gets more screen time and character development than Juan does. I agree. I
You're right,
agree
though.
with you.
Yeah, that's fair.
I agree
That's
with you.
very
I
fair.
think it's supposed to be about Juan, but Juan doesn't have much of a character arc, does he? He doesn't change much throughout the film.
No.
And
But Juan doesn't really need to change. Like, that's not too dissimilar, like, from, like, a Nameless Cowboy
he
in that
doesn't
respect.
necessarily need to change, but there needs to be some kind of arc for him. Whereas, like, the only kind of racist cowboy character gets the most quote-unquote character development of anybody in the movie, and he is the one who is the most, I think, in big, bold letters, protagonist of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think he should be. I think that's the problem, because, like, he's sort of redeemed by the end, but he's never likable.
Yeah. Well, it's almost as if they have a sort of role reversal with the cowboy and Juan. You know, when he has to become the immigrant escaping America.
We're getting to that.
To Mexico.
No,
We're getting to the
time,
best ticking clock I have ever fucking seen in a movie. Oh my god. Yeah, so
Well, every purge has a ticking clock.
Yes.
Like, that is integral to the franchise. It's always survive until morning, survive until the end of the purge. But this time the ticking clock is a little bit different.
Yes, it is. And I fucking loved it. The purge has taken off. It's now the Forever Purge. It's the next night. People are still purging, which, let me just stop and rewind a little bit on that. And how much I adore this. Because my gripe with the Purge movies has always been, why do people stop? Why don't people just keep being violent or whatever? It could never be so simple as just stopping. And this movie answered that in the best way. They couldn't. This is unsustainable. And it rules. So they take off. They're still purging. The military has completely just given up, which... unrealistic. They have Predator drones, but that's fine.
Well, see, here's the thing. They mention, when we hear in a news broadcast that the U.S. military has been deployed to every city in the United States, which invites us to consider an interesting alternate America where enough of our military is at home and not overseas enforcing imperialism in the Middle East and elsewhere, that they actually can deploy the military to every major city in America
At once.
at once, yeah, within hours.
Well, all they need to do is deploy Predator drones is my piece. But
I mean, yeah, they're not opposed to droning.
My
drone striking
assumption
civilians,
was
but
the big thing that stops them in El Paso is the big army base gets bombed out. And my assumption from that is there were people on the inside.
probably,
working.
Yeah, it would be absolutely unreasonable to think that there wouldn't be a shitload of people in the military who wouldn't also want to ethnically cleanse the country.
Yeah, probably a good chunk.
Which is largely, I think, why the military actually dissolves, if we want to be real. We don't see that, but that's almost certainly what occurs. And I think it is implied.
They know that there's no safe place to go, and they get word that both Mexico and Canada are opening their borders for 6 hours.
Why 6 hours?
Why 6 hours?
Fuck you,
I
that's
don't know.
why.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that rules.
Well, it basically excludes anybody who's not within 400 miles of a border.
And why? Who cares?
So anybody who's in, the heartland of America or who doesn't live in Texas...
Oh, guess you're
boned.
fucked. Yeah.
Fucked. But Canada and Mexico open their borders for 6 hours, so then they gotta get across the border to Mexico. So the roles are reversed. Now it's America that is in anarchic turmoil, and Mexico is the safe haven where you have to seek asylum.
Dude, what I love about it is the camera, the camera work and the editing is perfect on this shot, because it starts with the news broadcast Canada and Mexico are opening their borders for the next 6 hours, and you see Juan or someone says we have to get to Mexico, and then someone else says we have to get to Mexico, and it just cuts up, it cuts to the white guy's face and zooms in, and I swear to God I just heard bum bum ba ba wow.
Or the fucking Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Bum, bum,
you just see his whole face fucking drop, and
he's like, oh no, we shouldn't be mixing.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy
also,
realizing he has to immigrate is
of course
so
that
fucking funny.
his wife is pregnant too, so he has to get her to Mexico so she can have the baby
safely.
Right.
in Mexico.
And also, but also, like, that means that they can't get deported either, because now that's an anchor baby. Because it's born in Mexico, so it's a Mexican citizen.
Exactly. No, well, I said it.
This is smart. Nobody's ever thought of anything like this before.
Dude, no, I said it during the movie. Like I said, like, after the final scene where she has her baby in Mexico, like, I leaned over, because I was just like, damn, missed opportunity to call it an anchor baby.
Yeah.
Like I would have, like,
I don't think that's a PC term, though.
God, if Juan had walked up and just been like, isn't he beautiful? And he would have just said, like, yeah, it is a beautiful anchor baby, cut to credits.
Man,
like,
that would have been so funny.
Yeah.
Well, to go back to the semi-racist cowboy, like, that scene is like his quote-unquote redemption, because throughout the entire movie he keeps telling Juan to speak English. He's like, I can't understand you, I don't know what you're talking about. And then in that scene, when he goes in and he's like holding his baby, Juan and Adela walk in, and Juan says congratulations to him in Spanish.
Oh, does he? That's really fun.
Yeah, he says congratulations to him in Spanish, and it cuts to the racist cowboy holding the baby, and it pauses for a second, because you're waiting for him to say, I don't know what that means, or speak English, but then he goes, muchas gracias, Juan. And then they turn around and walk away, and it rolls credits.
Yeah.
Like, he's not racist anymore! Now he thinks it's okay to mix cultures!
We've cured racism.
We've cured racism! We did it!
I love, yeah, we did it! And then meanwhile, like, the entire United States is burning.
Yeah, zoom
behind
out to
them.
the satellite shot of the entire
But
U.S.
hey,
burning.
all of the United States burning. All right, we saved one cowboy.
That's right.
You know, we
Yeah.
saved one cowboy from racism.
We turned one cowboy not racist. Mission accomplished.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide. We did it. It only cost the entire United States. Which, I mean, damn, kind of accurate though. But like, that's fine.
Hey, if we can all turn one cowboy, just think about all the good we can do.
Imagine
Yeah.
all the people living in
That has a ripple effect. So
Kinda is, though. I kinda
Adela
like
has
that.
a boss who's in the police truck.
Yes,
And
back to him.
she splits up with him, and then we never see him again.
Yeah, he tells her, or she tells him to, like, when they show up with the semi-truck, she tells him to come with them, and he's like, no, I gotta go to my family. And then he runs off, and that's it.
And that's
And
it,
she's like,
yeah.
"Thank you, I owe you my life." And then hops on the truck, and that's it. Yeah, bye bye. Like,
I was
so many
waiting for him to
opportunities.
show up again.
Dude, the perfect chance to do it would have been during the border opening sequence, when everything has gone to shit, the military bases have closed down. We just get a quick cut of him standing in front of his wife and kid getting mowed down. Then we have a personal connection to the tension. Like, oh my god, our home really is destroyed. Look, our neighbors are all dying. Look at this character we know dying. Would have been dandy. Like great opportunity. But no, we just forget about him and move on.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah,
the
'cause
movie
he's not
forgot
important. Yeah.
about the black hat guy who's on the poster who fucking ruled. Where is my dude?
Yeah, just very haphazard. I will say,
Where's my boy?
the other
He was
funny
so cool.
standout, though, was in the theater, in the back of the theater, it's like a haunted house almost.
Yeah, does
And like the
Purge happen around
misfits,
Halloween
yeah, the
time?
misfits just appear basically.
Yeah.
They're all look like
Dressed up as vampires and
horror
like,
punks.
Okay, so there's a vampire movie playing. So maybe they were staff who decided to get a little purgy.
And just hang on the wall and wait.
Yeah. Who cares? It was fun. It was a fun
Not
jump
me.
scare. They had vampire
Yeah,
teeth,
yeah.
and then she blew their heads off. That was rad. She like stuck her gun like in that dude's mouth. I thought
They
that was
were
cool.
really not prepared, huh?
They honestly were. That guy just kind of hopped out and said "blah" and then died.
You know what would have been cool
Blah.
is if she had shot him in the face and his vampire teeth had flown out and like stuck in her neck or something.
Yeah.
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 So I was sort of looking at The Purge from a broader lens. I was talking to our mutual friend Jillian this morning about these movies.
Shout out
and
to Jillian.
She doesn't listen to this show.
That's okay.
She explicitly says she doesn't want to because she was worried it might be bad. And she's right.
Damn, Jillian. Well, now we'll just tell her we called her out on the podcast. Jillian, I'm calling you out.
Now she has to listen to this episode. But she brought up something that I think is really true, especially the more I think about it. Especially coming off of our discussion of the Saw franchise recently. Jillian was saying that, like, the Purge movies are sort of this decade's answer to Saw.
I dig that.
And I think she's right, because, like, the Saw franchise, as we talked about, is, like, such an encapsulation, at least, like, the first 7 movies, of, like, the post 9/11 America, and sort of, like, the ethos of, like, torture and paranoia and stuff that followed up around that. And these Purge movies, dumb or not, because they mostly are stupid, but they do feel like they're really trying to distill, like, America in this moment. Whether they're successful at that or not is a different discussion, but also, like, something I think is worth mentioning, too, is, like, can either of you guys name another horror franchise that has gotten to 5 movies and has had the creator directly integrally writing, if not directing, every single installment? I can't think of anything.
Good or bad, I do see that as impressive.
I think it's worth mentioning is that, like, this is, like, the Purge universe has been James DeMonico's, like, singular vision for, like, 10 years now.
That rules.
And
Yeah.
he
Rules time.
hasn't directed these last 2, but he has still written
They
them.
are very much his movies.
And I did see that he is also a writer on the Purge TV show, which I still haven't seen. It's like he is, like, this has been his franchise continually through 5 movies. Like, even Darren Lynn Bousman doesn't have 5 Saw movies.
I think the
There's no-
closest is like the Insidious series, but that got to 4?
Yeah, and by the end, like, James Wan wasn't directing them anymore. I think James Wan directed the first 2.
Yeah.
And then he was attached as executive producer on all of them.
But
He's
Lee
not,
Winnell wrote like all of them, right?
Not the 4th one.
No.
Not The Last Key. No, definitely not. I think he wrote the first 2.
Editor's note. Madis is wrong. Lee Winnell did in fact write Insidious The Last Key, as well as all the other Insidious films, except for Insidious The Dark Realm.
And there's
Maybe
4
the
Insidious
first
movies. How
3?
many Purge movies is that? Like, what number is this?
This is 5.
Christ.
And they also have a TV show
And
with
there's-
2 seasons, I think.
Damn.
It's
impressive.
Yeah,
It's impressive. I'll give it that.
only other one I can think of, and this one ended a while ago, so it's not even completely comparable, is Paranormal Activity got to 5 or 6.
Paranormal Activity got to 7 movies, but not the same people working on them.
Really? I
They
thought
were
Oren
passing
Peli
around.
was involved in some aspect.
I think executive
them.
producer at most on some of them, and I don't think that really counts.
Yeah.
It's weird and kind of impressive, like you said, that James DeMonico has managed to have, like, such creative control over this franchise.
Yeah, and
for 5
considering how
movies.
big a movie series it is in terms of budget, that is very impressive.
Also
I'm surprised
weird-
you didn't mention Bad Ben.
Oh, damn. I
More
should've.
than 5 right there.
Yeah, damn. Shout out to the Bad Ben franchise. God damn, you're right. I think there's 8, maybe 9 of them, and other things in the works. But those are a singular vision by a singular man.
Not quite the same budget, but
No,
he's
not quite. You know,
the
close,
James
but not
DeMonico
exactly.
of found footage.
God damn. No, seriously though, I'm picking those movies soon. Like, we're gonna watch some Bad Ben movies at some point for the podcast. We have to.
I'll take
we
your
can
word
watch
for
some
it.
of them. I don't know about all of them.
We gotta get you Ben brained though.
Does it take all of them to get Ben brained?
Yes. Well,
I'm
no. It only
always
takes
Ben
like 2, and,
Yeah,
and
Ben's
you're
already-
on.
Ben's already
You'll be
Ben
sold.
brained.
You'll want to watch them. You'll be invested. It's all right. Once you get into the deep lore, the clown deep lore, and the Jersey Devil stuff, like you'll see the witch bitch. You know, like these are all core characters. It's it's almost as rich as like it deserves its own like Lord of the Rings-esque appendices. Frankly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Anywho, back to the movie we're here to talk about. My last bit was often I have the complaint that a film needs to pick a lane. And that it sits a safe middle of the road and isn't, and never reaches in one direction or the other. I thought this movie picked a lane and really fucking rode it. I
mean,
respect
think-
the fuck out of that.
I think The Purge as a franchise in general picks a lane for sure. I just don't think it really knows how to drive straight within its lane.
And honestly, though,
And I don't think that's necessarily a problem.
No, when it's like it's such a messy subject matter, I think it's great that it's delivered in a messy way.
I don't look for a whole lot of depth in these movies, but at this point I do look for creativity and fun, and I think that as a whole, this film is pretty squarely in the middle of the franchise.
Yeah.
It's far from the most creative and fun, but it's also pretty far removed from, like, the worst that the franchise has to offer. And that's a really weird thing, too, is that, like, the pretty large quality gaps for a franchise that has been a singular creative vision, like, the fact that James DeMonaco has written all of these things and directed 3 of them, and the quality swings wildly.
It's almost like he's doing a one for you, one for me type of thing.
Yeah, kind of.
I respect that.
I think this film kind of paradoxically both does and does not break the trend of one good, one bad, one good, one bad. It maintains the trend in the respect that it is a step down in quality from the movie that comes before it, but I don't think this is a bad movie.
Well, I think what it shows is that as a whole, the Purge series is getting better. Because the last one was the best, and that was the highest high. Mm-hmm. And even to follow with a low, the low is still higher than it would be before.
It's true, yeah. I mean, I do think that Election Year is the worst in the franchise, and that came immediately before the first Purge. So interesting that it goes from worst to best, back to back. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think whether, which one is the worst is debatable. I know you think that the original film is the worst. I don't think it's much better than
they're both bad,
but they're both pretty shitty. I was looking into what else this director did, Everardo Gout, because I'd never heard of him, and for good reason. He has not really done anything. He directed, like, some episodes of, like, a Nat Geo show and did some other movie, Days of Grace. And the only other big thing on his filmography is he was the second unit director on the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet movie from 1996.
Whoa,
yeah, I don't got the glow up. 25 years?
Yeah, I don't know where they found this dude. Like, why
he did a fine job.
He did.
The direction is serviceable.
He did a perfectly competent job.
Yeah,
in a perfectly competent film.
Yeah. Why don't you throw a rating on the end of that?
You know what? I sure will. It is. It was okay. It was just okay. It was just okay, dog. Like, I didn't have a bad time watching it, but I did think it dragged in places, and I was really missing, like, some of the kooky creativity I'd come to expect from this franchise. And for a Purge movie set in Texas, like, I really wanted, like, more Western tropes and not just... You know what? What sums up this movie is this is your run-of-the-mill Purge movie in a cowboy hat. And and for that reason, yeehaw, I'll give it a 3 out of 5.
I think this movie is the definition of a 3 out of 5. It's very serviceable. It's not bad, but it's not like grabbing either. Like, see it if you watch the series, it's fun, but, like, don't go out of your way if you haven't seen this one. Like, go and see the first Purge, number 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Purge film number 4, titled The First Purge.
Yes. Yeah, this is a 3 out of 5 for me. It's serviceable. It's not bad.
So, though we kind of forgot about the black hat, I'd be surprised to hear that there weren't recuts in this movie. Reshoots, even. All that aside, I am fucking starved for cowboy horror. Like, there's just not enough horror westerns out there. I've got, like...
Agreed.
Like, what do I have? I've got No Country for Old Men, which
That's
is
not a horror
hardly
movie.
even a horror movie.
movie.
Exactly.
Got
It's really a
Bone
thriller.
Tomahawk.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you've got Bone Tomahawk.
I guess Lost Boys. I don't know. I still haven't seen that one yet. Like,
No, not
still.
Western.
See, like
Near
they're fucking isn't
Dark.
it?
Near
kinda?
Dark, yeah,
Near
Near Dark
kinda.
is Western.
I need a fucking proper
Hey, what
cowboy
about
horror movie.
What about The Pale Door, Cleveland?
See, and that's why I liked that so much for the same reason, even though it was super low budget.
Terrible.
It was terrible, but I loved it. I need it. I need it in my life, guys. If you're listening to the podcast and you happen to know of a good cowboy horror movie that is a proper cowboy horror movie, please add us. Please
Yeah,
let us know.
let us know.
Need it.
What would you rate this?
I'm going to give it a good 3.5. I liked it enough for that. And what I will disagree. Having not seen any of the other Purge movies, I really, really liked it. Like, and I was really surprised.
I think you're in the best place to like it,
to
having
hear
not
that.
seen any of the other Purge
Right, I was really
movies.
surprised to hear that from you guys, that this movie was kind of middling in respect to the other
Yeah.
Purge films, because, like, I was pretty taken aback by the budget. Like, there were so many, like, destroyed American city streets,
Oh, the Purge
shots,
movies
and
have budget.
yeah, like
Yeah,
it was,
they're not
it was.
cheap.
That's never been the problem. Like, Ethan Hawke was the lead in the first one. Like, The Purge has always had budget.
Sure.
Like, that's never been an issue.
But yeah, so like I had a really great time. Like my gripes aside, it's enough to take like a 1.5 stars off. So you know, like but not too much more than that. Like I said, I really liked the characters, and I really liked the heavy-handed commentary for once. Normally, it really depends on like what I've eaten this morning when it comes to like incorporating politics into a film. I don't think that a film needs to have like I need to share politics with the movie to enjoy it. I just think it needs to be like done well, or at least done fun. I don't think this movie is done well, but it is done fun when it comes to that stuff.
We didn't mention the budding but failed romance between the one Mexican friend and the semi-racist cowboy's sister, because he's tipping his hat at her for like the whole movie.
I know.
And then they go into the convenience store to find supplies, and he finds the peanut butter and she finds the jelly. So then and then he even says this could work, but then he gets shot and she's sad about it, and he can't tip his hat anymore.
I know, because he's dead. And
he's
like,
dead.
like what the fuck? Like they just had to kill somebody. I didn't.
Yeah, man.
Feel that his death was needed for the plot.
We could have had an interracial love story, but
No, we could have. We could have. You
instead-
know. I really liked that peanut butter jelly scene, unironically. Like I thought it was.
I thought it was pretty bad.
I thought it was bad.
Corny.
I thought it was bad and corny. But also, like, I appreciated these characters were trying to find any light that they can in
Sure.
such a horrifying environment.
Sure.
I thought that was fun. And is it dumb? Yes. But is it charming? Very.
They got the peanut butter and the jelly, but they didn't get to make a sandwich.
Aww.
Anywho,
Pour one out.
that will give the Forever Purge a perfectly serviceable average of 3.2 out of 5 pods.
I'm just saying, if this movie had more of the black hat in it, it would have been a 5 out of 5 for me. Like I would have done it.
It would have been more interesting if
If he
had
just shown up in it
if
again
it
at the
had
end.
a better villain. Yeah.
I'm easy. Like just give me more cowboys. Give me more evil cowboys. It's fun.
We have some results for this
Yes.
movie because we did do predictions.
Yes, we
Pass
predicted
it over
this
to Ben.
one. So for Rotten Tomatoes score, Tease, you predicted this would be a 40. Cleve, you said 22. And I said 37.
I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Right now, it's sitting at 45.
Yes, baby.
So
Pulling it
Hell
in.
yeah.
Tease pulled it out. So in terms of our collective score, Tease, you predicted 2.3. Cleve, you predicted 2.5. I predicted 2.8.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
I got a point in there.
Coming back up.
So at half of the year,
It is halftime.
yes, Tease, you are sitting at 7. Cleve, you're sitting at 4,
I'll
and
take
I'm
it.
sitting at 3.
Nice.
So looks like Tease is picking our mid-year catch-up.
Yes,
films.
and that will be next week's episode. For a couple of reasons, scheduling conflicts with the three of us, and also considering that, like, 5 of our last 6 episodes have been new movies. I'm just picking 2 for our mid-year catch-up instead of 3. So next week we will be talking about my picks, which are Death Ranch and Honeydew.
I'm very excited about both of these.
Great choices.
I am too.
Shame we're not picking Skull the Mask.
I
but
have
I'm all right with
heard.
it.
I have heard good things about both of those, and you can pick that on your own at some point.
I just might,
because we have our own picks. And honestly, another part of the reason that I'm doing this is because I think my next pick is going to be another 2020 film. So we're plenty well caught up this year, maybe more so than we have been.
Yeah, we've been pretty current this year.
Just
Yeah.
about any other year.
I'm into it.
So yeah, join us next week for our mid-year catch-up episode.
Hand me
The
the can.
sponsor shelf, it is glowing once again.
The shelf. Yeah, yes, the shelf. Yes, the shelf. Here we are. And the shelf tells us that this episode was brought to you by the music from the pizza delivery minigame from Spider-Man 2.
Hell yeah, bro.
Bit of a deep cut, this one, but
That's a good sponsor.
Yeah.
That shit slapped.
one might say pizza time.
It's pizza time.
It's pizza time.
It's pizza time.
And if you don't know what that means, I don't know, watch a movie.
No, it's from the video game, the pizza delivery.
Well, I meant the quote, the pizza time, the bit when he says, pizza time. That's when he says
That's true.
in Spider-Man 2.
You're right.
He says pizza, or is it the first one? It's the first one because he's still a pizza boy at that time.
No, it's Spider-Man 2.
It is Spider-Man 2 where it says
Yeah, he's
pizza
still a
time.
pizza boy, pizza time, in pizza time.
Hold on.
Did you just say?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hold on, let me break that one down. You said he's still a Spider Boy.
No, I said he's still a pizza boy in pizza time.
Yeah.
I thought you said he's still a Spider Boy in Pizza Time.
Whichever.
It's
I think you
great
said-
anyway.
We'll just have to roll
swing
it back.
He's
Pizza
still
time.
a pizza boy in pizza time.
Like a Spider-Man, any way you swing it.
Yeah, dude. Wow. Okay, yeah. He's when he's the Spider Boy in Pizza Time.
Pizza Time.
He says the iconic words.
It's
There
pizza.
you go.
Anyway,
Shout out. Spider-Man 2 had really good that web slinging mechanic was really fun, wasn't it?
yeah, dude. That
That's
game.
not exactly a hot
Spider-Man 2,
take,
The movie,
but
the best, second best to Into the Spider-Verse.
yeah, Alfred Molina.
Yep.
It's a good
Classic.
movie.
Go watch Spider-Man 2.
I guess so. Yeah, that is a damn good movie. That might be a 5 for me. Yeah, that's a solid film.
It slaps.
It does.
Anyway, that'll bring us to the end of this week's episode. If you want to support the show, the best way to do that is to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and a nice review. You can also support the show by subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/podpeoplepod. We got a few different reward tiers on there, but don't worry, none of our content is paywalled, so you will always get every episode for free. But if you become a patron, you might get them early.
Also, you can request movies for us to review, and that's pretty cool.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
Pretty
true.
cool.
If you subscribe to the honorary Podboy tier, you can give us suggestions for films to review on the podcast.
But I swear to God, if you at me with or any of us with a cowboy horror movie, I almost certainly will pick it. If that
he's
movie
not
exists.
lying.
I'll
He's
do
not
it.
lying.
You don't have to subscribe to the Patreon. I'll pick that as mine.
Well, okay.
But you should subscribe to our Patreon, and that would be great too. And then you can get 2 movies, picked. Lucky you.
Anyway, you can follow us on Twitter at PodPeoplePod and at letterbox.com/PodPeoplePod, where you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show with our average ratings and links to those reviews. If you're so inclined, partners, you can follow me on Twitter at SomeSpookySnake.
I'm on Twitter at Mr. Sheets.
And I'm tweeting for Light Arc Studio as we put out progress on It Stares Back. We've got The Drowned Queen coming out next, our next chapter on the game. You all should definitely join our Discord. Check it out on Steam, early access. We've got a lot of content already, hours of it for you to play. And you can join our Discord and talk to us about the game there as well. You can also find my work on ArtStation. If you search Cleveland Mosier, I am occasionally taking commissions, but right now I'm mostly just working for Dread XP, baby. As we put out some really cool games over there. Right now working on Spookware. Y'all stay posted. If you like WarioWare-esque games, but with like an Undertale, like cute skeletons vibe, Oh my god, this game is amazing. I'm putting on kind of like an ad voice right now. Fuck that. It fucking slaps, man. Like I've been playing a lot of it. It rules. Highly recommended. Get excited about Spookware. That's all for me.
Alrighty, folks. Well, we appreciate y'all stopping by these parts. And until next time, say yeehaw as you go.
Or who doggies? Either one.
Doggy!